Hi guys, it's me, Kalika, and welcome to my channel, ADHD and Me. This is going to be my first video, so exciting but very nervous, so please not ignore, but please be nice. And I'm working on the quality, and I plan on doing a bunch of different videos, and I think the whole reason that I wanted to start this channel is when I was diagnosed late. I was actually only diagnosed at 35. When I decided I was going to take that step to try medication and, kind of delve into ADHD, what it is, how it's impacting me, how it affects me, things like that, I was trying to find videos on YouTube, and I couldn't find any. Like, there's heaps of videos on ADHD, but I couldn't find any videos that was just like a person's experience. I managed to find one girl's channel, and she's awesome. I think the other thing as well is I couldn't find any Aussies. Like, I feel like there's not enough Aussies creating content on YouTube. So I wanted to make a channel that was one by an Aussie so other Aussies can relate. And I also wanted to make a channel that wasn't a professional. It's not a doctor, it's not a professor, it's not like, I want it to be information based, but I want people's personal experience. So, like, you'd find a video on ADHD and emotions, and they'd explain ADHD and emotions, but I want to be able to give a perspective of someone who is explaining ADHD, how your emotions are impacted, but personal examples and personal experiences on how that has impacted them and their daily life. So first off, I'm going to start. Basically, my first video is just going to be my story and how I got diagnosed. So ultimately, I was diagnosed because of severe insomnia. So I have the worst insomnia ever. I have for years and years and years. I don't remember a time where I never struggled with sleep. I've also always been a night owl. Like, I am so much happier being awake at 11, 12 o'clock at night than I am at being out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, back to how I was diagnosed. So I had been going to my doctor. Thankfully, I've had the same doctor for 10 years. I'd been going to my doctor about my sleep issues for a long time. And ultimately, it got to a point where my doctor had prescribed me every sleeping medication he was comfortable to prescribe me. And he referred me to a psychiatrist. So going to the psychiatrist, and I was at the psychiatrist. I was talking to him about all the, I'd gone to a psychiatrist to talk to him about my insomnia and basically see what he can prescribe me to see if he can help. That ultimately obviously led into other discussions. Ultimately, yes, ultimately that led to other discussions. So the insomnia, some issues I was having at work as well, and mentioning that my son has ADHD, but he wasn't diagnosed till he was 15. And when he was prescribed Ritalin, it was like a miracle drug. So if you guys would love me to make a video solely on my son's ADHD and his diagnosis, leave a comment below. But mentioning that my son had ADHD, my nephew also has autism and ADHD. So he basically wanted me to be tested for ADHD, referred me to someone to do the testing process, and he also wanted me to follow up with some work issues I was having, and he wanted me to take this boss for workplace bullying, like through work cover. So I finished that appointment. He prescribed me a sleeping tablet, and I booked to be tested for ADHD. Now, most people know in Australia, ADHD testing is a process. It doesn't happen in one visit. So I booked the appointment to have the ADHD testing done. Unfortunately, it cost me like over $500 to be tested for ADHD. And I think that's one of the things the Australian system lacks massively, is the cost of appointments. Like, I know when my sister got her son diagnosed, She was on a waiting list for 6 months, if not longer, and there was no appointment in sight. She ultimately ended up having to pay, I think, $900 to get my nephew diagnosed with autism. But then, where was I at? But then I booked that appointment to have the ADHD testing done and started that process. Obviously, in this time as well, I had trialed the sleeping medication that he gave me, and I was getting paperwork together to take this boss for workplace bullying. When I was halfway through my ADHD testing, when I went back to him, and basically I took the paperwork, all the proof that I was being bullied at work, and at this appointment, he goes to me, do you want 6 months off work or 12 months off work? I said, I don't want time off work. I don't do well sitting still. I think lots of people with ADHD will understand that. Sitting around doing nothing just doesn't work for me. So then he was really, really rude in this appointment. And then I explained to him, like, hey, the medication you've given me is not working, doesn't help me fall asleep at all. I'm still not going to sleep until like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, but I'm sleeping through my alarms, and I can't do that because I have kids. To which his response was, you need to find someone to help you with your kids, then you should appreciate that you're sleeping. So I walked out of that appointment really defeated and was not happy with him. So I ultimately actually didn't go back to him again. I finished the ADHD testing, in which they did diagnose me with ADHD. So I am diagnosed with the hyperactive component as well as the inattentive component. I don't necessarily so much see the hyperactivity. I'm not someone who's bouncing off the walls every time you see me. But other people around me do say that they can see that in me, especially my husband. I remember when I was halfway through the testing process and I said, yes, he says I have ADD. We just now need to test for the hyperactivity side of it. And I was like, but I don't think I've got the hyperactivity side of it. And my husband was like, I'd be open-minded. I think you might. So ultimately, yes, I was diagnosed with ADHD, attention hyperactivity disorder. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So I got that diagnosis, but I didn't actually do anything with it for 12 months. Like I said, there had been little hints leading up to that diagnosis that there was a possibility I could have ADHD. Like I said, my son was diagnosed with it at 15, which was about 4 years ago now. And the medication actually worked wonders for him. He would always joke that he got it from me. My family would always tease me that I'm OCD, things like that I couldn't relax, and I was always fluffing around and having to do something. So I never followed it up from there because I was like, I've gotten this far through life, what difference does it make? So what ultimately led me to deciding to try medication was talking with my husband. So I had just finished my diploma in community services and I'd gone for an interview and I was so confident. I thought I'd nailed the interview. And my husband and I had just had an appointment with an investment company. And when we got home, he goes, oh, babe, that was so frustrating. And I said, what do you mean? And he explained to me that for this whole appointment, and I'm talking a 3-hour appointment, that I would keep stopping them, repeating what they'd said to me, clarify that I knew what they said, and then let them go on. And that I did this non-stop, the whole appointment. And he goes, that's not normal. Like, you've just heard everything they've said, but you repeat it back to them. And he said to me, go find someone else and just maybe try. He goes, because if you're doing that sort of stuff in a job interview, they're not going to hire you because they think that you're not listening. So that's what ultimately led me to booking the appointment. So I've now had that appointment and I have started medication. I will make a completely separate video on medication because I'm like, I think 2 weeks in at this point. I have my follow-up appointment in 2 weeks, but I'm currently on Dex amphetamine prescription. So yeah, that's my story, and I just basically want to have a whole video series that's more like a vlog style, more like someone who's actually got it, who's talking to you, explaining personal experiences, you know, not just going, you're saying, going back to emotions, because that's the first thing I think of, you know, not just saying you're hypersensitive to things. I want to be able to go, people with ADHD are hypersensitive to things. This is something that I've done that's made me go, hang on, that's not a normal reaction that most people would have. So please subscribe to this channel. I do plan on doing lots of videos. I'm so open to suggestions. Leave any comments below on videos you actually want me to record. Give this video a thumbs up if you do like it. It helps me, you know, bump up the list for when people are searching up videos on ADHD. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.